there is an ICE protest in my city and I'm not attending it. Here's the reason why. Because the protest doesn't have a clear-cut message. They're just saying abolish ICE. Truly, that's not what they want. So I'm just going to use my voice and inform all of you how ICE changed in 2025 and led to so many tragedies, traumatic events, and hardships. Before I read to you all of the conclusions I've drawn, I have to tell you one thing. They are protesting abolish ICE. But what they should be protesting is abolish the new expansion of expedited removal, which has caused so many people to lose their right to due process. Let me just tell you what expedited removal is first. Before 2025, expedited removal was for immigrants who have been here on the United States soil less than 14 days. Expedited removal is a process that allows the government to quickly deport non-citizens who are believed to be inadmissible or who have committed a certain immigration violation without full hearing before an immigration judge. This was strictly limited to immigrants who have been here less than 14 days. And as I just said, I will repeat, it's a process where the government can quickly deport non-citizens without a full hearing. There are 6 types of immigration removals. Ordinary removal, which is standard and requires the person to be before a judge. Expedited removal, which does not require due process because since 2003, expedited removal was only targeting people who have been here less than 14 days. Returns, that is the process of returning individuals who have been found inadmissible to the country. Voluntary departure, where an individual voluntarily removes themselves. And reinstatement of removal order, which allows immigration authorities to reinstate a previous removal if the individual has been found to have re-entered the country illegally after being removed. Finally, administrative removal. This refers to administrative proceedings where an individual's removal is determined by immigration officials without a full hearing before an immigration judge. Here's where everything changed in 2025. In 2025, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security significantly expanded the scope of expedited removal, a process allowing Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to deport certain non-citizens without a hearing before an immigration judge. Here are the key changes implemented based on available information. The 14-day window was expanded to 2 years, which gave government officials authority to target more people, which is why there's an influx of ICE arrests. There's no requirement for due process because it's expedited removal, and that's where it all went south. First, nationwide expansion. Expedited removal was extended to apply to undocumented non-citizens apprehended anywhere in the U.S. who cannot prove they have been continuously present in the U.S. for at least 2 years prior to their ICE arrest. Previously, the policy was limited to those within 100 miles of a U.S. border within a 14-day arrival. This change reinstates and expands a policy from the first Trump administration, which was rescinded by the Biden administration in March of 2022. Number 2, inclusion of parolees. A new DHS policy detailed in a January 23rd, 2025 memo directs ICE and Customs and Border Protection officials to review the status of individuals who entered the U.S. under parole programs, particularly those who entered more than a year ago and have not applied for asylum. Officers can revoke parole status and place these individuals in expedited removal if they qualify, effectively targeting those admitted under humanitarian parole programs, such as those used by the Biden administration for nearly 1.5 million migrants. 3, court case terminations for expedited removal. Pause. So what should we be protesting? The restoration of the original expedited removal. The current administration has found loopholes to amend and change expedited removal to make it easier to arrest more people, to deprive them of due process, because, expedited removal doesn't require due process. So if we just expand that from 14 days to 2 years, we can arrest more people. That is what you need to be protesting. Abolishing ICE is unrealistic. Immigration will always be enforced in every single country. It's the corruption finding loopholes in what currently exists in immigration removals that are being taken advantage of, changed, amended to target more individuals, oppressing them. That is what needs to be protested, not abolishing ICE. When you and a large group congregate and protest abolish ICE, you're taking away from what the actual problem is, and you're not spreading the true problem. The truth of the matter is that ICE will never be abolished. But if everyone could be on board with reverting expedited removal, all of this would go away and more people would have access to due process again. But let me continue reading. Court case termination. Starting in May of 2025, ICE began arresting non-citizens at immigration court hearings, terminating their ongoing court case to place them in expedited removal instead. This tactic targets migrants who crossed the border illegally within the last 2 years, allowing for faster deportations. See how that 2-year period is causing fuckery for so many people? ICE has to follow rules, which is why ICE has never done this before. But if we bring awareness to that 2-year expansion, all of this will slow down and people will have their right to due process again through administrative removal, through ordinary removal. If we can get expedited removal to be more limited to just a 14-day period in a 100-mile radius from the border, there will be less ICE arrests. But nobody is bringing attention to this. The expanded policy has faced legal challenges, with the American Civil Liberties Union filing a lawsuit citing due process violations and risks of wrongful deportations. The lawsuit argues that the policy's broad application could lead to errors, especially for those unable to immediately provide proof of 2 years residency. Do you see how if we protest this expansion of expedited removal, all of this would go away? Unfortunately, the ACLU is going to lose that lawsuit because per the new expedited removal, it's expanded to 2 years. You can't file a lawsuit because of wrongful deportations because they lack due process. Because expedited removal specifically states, explicitly shows, there is no requirement for due process. Hence why it was so limited to immigrants who were 100 miles away from a border or less and here for less than 14 days. Now, 100 miles from the border, done. Now, 14 days, no, that's cranked up to 2 years. That's what you need to be fucking protesting. Guidance for non-citizens. Non-citizens are advised to carry proof of residency to demonstrate 2 years of continuous U.S. presence. Before, it was over 2 weeks. The burden of proof lies with them. Those expressing a fear of persecution or torture are entitled to a credible fear interview with an asylum officer who could exempt them from expedited removal if successful. Enforcement tactics. ICE has employed novel strategies such as custody redetermination in places like San Francisco, where judges resisted case dismissals. This allows ICE to detain immigrants without immediate judicial approval, though it may not directly lead to deportation without further proceedings. These changes reflect a broader enforcement push under the Trump administration, aiming to expedite deportations and reduce the immigration court backlog. However, they have raised concerns about fairness, particularly for those with pending asylum claims or long-term U.S. residency. But the problem with Trump is that long-term U.S. residency used to be a different length of time than it is now. Now it has to be more than 2 years for expedited removal. Before Trump, it was 14 days. However, this information is based on available sources and does not constitute as legal advice. So I can't participate in a protest because there isn't a clear-cut message that come from realistic, logical conclusions. Realistically, logically, ICE cannot be abolished. Protesting the abolishment of ICE is irrational. It's unfortunate that people are uneducated regarding the changes that took place over the last few months for expedited removal. That's what the protest needs to be. The expansion and broadening of expedited removal is what's causing harm. Now, if you're for a slight second questioning this, I'm going to ask you, do you feel the urge to protest ICE up until 2025? Because ICE has existed since 2003 after the Homeland Security Act was introduced under George W. Bush in 2002. If the answer is no, that doesn't mean you want ICE to be abolished. That means you want the changes to be discarded. Do away with these changes, Mr. President, because it's causing too much damage. It's hurting too many people. It's separating children from families. It's making me cry. It really is unethical too, because there are no limits, no age limits, nothing, no marital limits, no due process limits, with the exception of those seeking asylum. So I have to go. Bye.